Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly pop culture wrap-up. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly pop culture wrap-up. It's the show where I go over the week's pop culture news, mostly comic books and movies. Let's get right into it with some sad comic book news. Vertigo is done. We talked about it a couple weeks ago that there were rumors circulating around that DC was going to be closing and folding up Vertigo, right? And we know that as important as Vertigo was, again, Vertigo is so important to the comic book industry, to creator rights, just to content of story, right? Just to publication of a story with a beginning and a middle and an end that was definitive, right? We're talking about books like The Invisibles, Sandman, Hellblazer, Swamp Thing, Transmetropolitan, 100 Bullets, Fables. We're talking about creators like Neil Gaiman, right? Derek Robertson, Warren Ellis, Grant Morrison, Pete Milligan, Alan Moore. We're talking about the best of the best, the creme de la creme, right? I cannot tell you or stress enough the influence of Vertigo Comics on my life, especially the book The Invisibles, right? But we knew that it was coming. Vertigo hasn't really been the same for a good long while now. And right now, they may have some really cool books with books like High Level, American Carnage for sure, The Catastrophe, that was Border Town, obviously. Second Coming wound up getting canceled and now it's being published at Ahoy. The previous book, Safe Sex, that was going to be at Vertigo is now going to be over at Image, right? But we have known that it's just not quite the same Vertigo, right? So to me, it's kind of akin to realizing that you got that old friend, someone you've known for 20, 30 years even, and you've grown apart. They're just not the same person. You're not the same person. You realize it's time to part ways, right? It's like that, right? However, I will say this. Vertigo's legacy continues to live on right now in Image Comics, in Vault Comics, in Aftershock Comics, Scout, Source Point Press, you name it. Anything that does creator-owned work that has that's striving to tell great stories, to tell different stories, something unique, something different, something you can only do on a comic book, something you've never seen before on a movie screen, right? That still lives today. That's the spirit. Vertigo changed the industry. Karen Berger, the editor, they changed the industry. Those creators, that British invasion, it changed the comic book industry. And we are still feeling the effects of that today. Thankfully so. Thankfully so. Also, DC Ink and DC Zoom, the very short-lived imprints that were designed to go after all ages and a middle-age target audience, those have been folded as well. Instead of these old brands, DC is now going to have a simpler rating system. They're going to have DC Kids. They're going to have DC Regular, DC Extra Regular, I guess you should say, and DC Black Label. So, Sandman, Vertigo, all those books that you love that are still going on, like the Sandman books, for instance, they'll continue on just under DC Black Label. And I'm sure any subsequent printings of books like Transmet or The Invisibles or Sandman or Preacher or anything like that, right? I believe all of that will probably be handled under DC Black Label. So nothing has really changed except for the branding, the name on the cover. But it is sad to realize that the day of Vertigo is done. It's been long past done, and more companies have taken that model and have enhanced it even further. And that's what we need to celebrate Vertigo. That's why we need to celebrate Vertigo instead of lamenting it, because I think it's pretty cool. One of those companies I shouted out was Vault Comics. Vault Comics is amazing. They do great science fiction and fantasy work. It's innovative, it's different, it's unique, it's got different perspectives. That's exactly what Vertigo was built to do, right? And Vault's doing it now. And I would dare to say that right now, Vault Comics has a better line-wide of books. Like, they have more books line-wide than Vertigo ever had in their history. They got a couple new books I want to talk about. First of all, The Plot. So The Plot comes out in September. It's written by Tim Daniel and Michael Morisi. Tim Daniel wrote Fissure. Michael Morisi is the writer of Wasted Space over at Vault. And it's got artwork by Joshua Hickson, who's coming off of Shanghai Red. This book is the debut of a brand new imprint, almost, if you will, called Nightfall. And what Nightfall is, and I had a comment about this a couple days ago, Nightfall is Vault finally 100% embracing the idea of publishing horror comics. They've always done great cutting-edge sci-fi. They've done elaborate, immersive fantasy. And now, especially with the success of books like These Savage Shores, they're leaning right into that horror thing, right? So every fall time, every Halloween time, every September, October, there's going to be a new horror book launch from Vault. So that's what Nightfall is all about. I'm super pumped. The plot, written by Morrissey and Daniel, I am super stoked for that. Hickson's artwork on Shanghai Red was to die for. Very excited about this. It's about a dude who, members of his family, they die tragically, and he has to take on their kids, and so he moves to their old family estate, and of course things aren't what they seem, and it gets crazy and kooky. So I'm excited about that one. Relics of Youth comes from Vault in September as well. It's a fantasy book. It's written by Chad Redman and Matt Nicholas, with artwork by Skylar Partridge. Now, Partridge is the artist over at Crowded, the Image comic book written by Christopher Sabella. A fantastic comic book. If you've never read Crowded, you definitely should. Relics of Youth is going to follow these young children, not young children, but young people that have this shared dream, this shared vision of this island. And then they all get together and they decide they got to go find this island, right? Both of these books, The Plot and Relics of Youth, they're going to have homage covers. That's something Vault's become known for. The Plot's going to have an homage to House of Secrets number 92, which is the first appearance of Swamp Thing. And Relics of Youth, appropriately, is going to have an homage cover to Deadly Class. So that's really, really cool. So SpiderMan, J.J. Abrams. Let's talk about this. SpiderMan, Marvel Comics did this whole thing where they were teasing a few days ahead of time that they were going to make a big Spider-Man announcement. At first, it was Spider-Man with a web that said 4. And everybody was speculating that it's a Fantastic Four Spider-Man crossover, or that it's Spider-Man 4, like a comic book adaptation of what the script was going to be, or something like that. No, it was actually a countdown, so they went 4, 3, 2, 1. J.J. Abrams and his son Henry are going to be writing a Spider-Man book. That was the big news. All right, that's fine. That's fine. Now, this is not something that's new. Having Hollywood people come in and write comic books, it's nothing new. It happens. No matter what you feel about that, whatever, right? There are many arguments to be made for why it's a good idea to have a celebrity come in. J.J. Abrams has a name. He's got a great vision on a lot of things, like Star Trek, Lost, for instance. But it makes me think of like back when old Damon from Lost, another Lost writer and creator, came on to do a Marvel comic book. The 2 issues came out, then it disappeared for a long time, then it ended with a very lackluster Final Four. So that was Ultimate Hulk and Wolverine. I'm not super excited about this, but I understand the argument for the idea. I get why you want a name that's known, right? But JJ's not writing this book. This is his son. 20-year-old son, never written a comic book in his life, probably. Getting the job because of who his dad is, right? Well, we could all sit here and argue about that, right? We could be like, well, that's nepotism, that's favoritism, that's all this, that's all that, whatever, and it's not right, right? I get it. Like, I think there are plenty of comic book creators out there right now who could do a great Spider-Man book. Absolutely. That have never got the chance. Absolutely. Fantastic. Like, 100%. However, I will say this. What we really need is not a new Spider-Man book. What we need to see is, from Marvel, instead of giving us a new Spider-Man book that's tied into a celebrity, that, to me, as a longtime avid comic book fan and reader and ambassador for comics, I can't get behind that right now. I'll read it, I'll check it out, but I'm not super, super excited. I'd rather have a new Blade book. I'd rather have a new Warriors book. I'd rather have a new Hawkeye book, talking about Kate Bishop. I would rather have so many other things, a Shang-Chi book. I would rather have a Heroes for Hire book than another Spider-Man book written by J.J. Abrams' son. That's just me. That's just me. And plenty of people trying to break into that industry legitimately that want that chance. However, give the gig to whoever you want. But right now, I don't think a new Spider-Man book is what Marvel should be focusing on. But what they should be focusing on is King Thor. King Thor comes out in September, written by Jason Aaron with artwork by Asad Ribic. They were the very, very beginning of Jason Aaron's Thor run. It was Asad and it was Jason, right? And they started telling this phenomenal story that is right now ending. And Thor, in fact, is not the end of it, but this King Thor, and it makes sense because this King Thor 4-issue miniseries is going to tackle the very bookend, the very tail end of Jason Aaron's Thor run, right? And I hear that this is something that Grant Morrison and other writers have said, if you want to establish a character that you're working on long term, you have to tell your vision of what the final bit of it is, right? And I think that's a cool idea, because you know some other writer's going to come in, retcon, change up what you did, so why not go ahead and establish where your vision was going to go and tell a good ending. So I'm excited to see Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic do this. I think it's really cool. It's a nifty idea, and I'm excited. That 4 issues is, I believe, the definitive ending of Jason Aaron's Thor run. The Thunderbolts return, and other characters return, like Night Thrasher in September in Punisher. Punisher being written right now by Matthew Rosenberg. It's a pretty fun book. He's going after Baron Zemo right now. In the issue, one of the 2 issues that come out in September, Baron Zemo as a new Thunderbolts team that he's launching. That's cool. But what's really cool to me is that Frank gets some help as well. You got Moon Knight in there. You got Ghost Rider. It looks like Danny Ketch. You got Black Widow. Got some really nifty characters there. But that's Moon Knight. Not Moon Knight. Moon Knight's there too. That's Night Thrasher. That's Night Thrasher. I'm a huge Night Thrasher fan, especially Dwayne. I don't know if that's Danielle or Dwayne. I asked Matthew Rosenberg, and I will see if he answered it. We'll eventually find out for sure. I'm a huge Night Thrasher proponent. I run the Let's Talk Night Thrasher page on Twitter at Let's Thrasher. So I'm super, super pumped for that. Just wanted to mention that. Also in November, Matt Fraction and Elsa Chatier are going to be releasing the first of 3 graphic novels named November. It's going to be focused on 3 separate women that are all connected in one way to some major crime type shit going on. It's pretty cool. I met Matt Fraction last week, talked to him a little bit at Heroes Con. Super cool, good dude, great head on his shoulders. Really excited to see what he can do on this graphic novel program, especially with Elsa on the artwork. I love her work. Oblivion Song, the book by Robert Kirkman. That book has been picked up for a movie by Universal. So Universal Pictures is making a Oblivion Song movie. I think that's great news. Walking Dead was a big success. Outcast, not so much so. But to me, Oblivion Song's the best property that Robert Kirkman has created. Of course, he created it with, what's the artist's name? Is it Roberto De Felci? I should have written it down, but I didn't. Oblivion Song, to me, though, the best Kirkman book out there. So I'm really excited to see what they can do with the movie. Speaking of movies, Avengers Endgame returns for one more go-round, trying to beat that Avatar record, whatever it takes. I encourage you to go check it out. I've already watched this movie twice in theaters. I think I've done my part. What they're going to tease everybody with, though, are new post-credits scenes. So there's like 6 minutes of new footage, like a Stan Lee tribute I hear, some trailers, a deleted scene, and some teases for what's coming up in the MCU, which to me, my thoughts are Dark Reign. I think they're going Dark Reign. I really do. Supposedly that comes out June 28th. I don't know if I'm going to go watch it. So if you go watch it before I hear anything, be sure to let me know what the extra 6 minutes of footage is. Very excited to check that out. Anyway, that's what we got for you this week. I am Rockin Robbie Billups here at Pop Culture Philosophers. What do we got coming up here at PCP this week? We got lots of excitement. First of all, have you checked out our new podcast? The latest podcast is up at popculturephilosophers.com. Right now, it's all about the X-Men. We talk about our favorite X-Men movies, talk about our favorite X-Men characters, heroes, and villains. We talk about our favorite X-Men comic book runs, writers, artists. We talk about so much, including the animated series. So get over to popculturephilosophers.com right now, pinned to the top. Our brand new podcast, X-Men. The next podcast after that, 60s science fiction. Very excited to do that. Tonight, here on this channel, we are doing a Robbie Rants live. I'll be chatting live. I'm talking about all this news. We'll talk about J.J. Abrams and Henry Abrams on SpiderMan. We'll talk about Vault Comics and what they got coming up. We'll talk about the end of Vertigo. We'll talk about all of that stuff and more tonight, 7 o'clock U.S. Central Time. So join us here for Robbie Rants live. Got some early looks at books coming out this week, so be prepared. She Said Destroy #2, Resonant #1, 2 new books from Vault that are excellent and amazing. Really, really like them. But tonight, also on the Robbie Rants Live, I'll be chatting a little bit about my experience at Heroes Con and showing off some of the really neat and nifty stuff that I got there and some of the really neat and nifty people that I met. So, be here tonight, 7 o'clock U.S. Central Time. Of course, the weekly comic book review is going to go as planned this week. We are back on schedule. We're starting some really exciting things. Exciting things are happening here at Pop Culture Philosophers, and it's all because of you, because you you share, you subscribe. And if you haven't done that, please do so. And like I said, join us at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. And let me know anything that you want to say in the comments down below about comic books, movies, TV, pop culture, and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on living.